And it says we're live.
It does look that well. It
There we
really
went.
brightens up when it goes live,
That's
doesn't it?
what I've been talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hello, folks. Afternoon, morning, evening, whatever the hell, wherever you may be. You just have Cedar and I today, since Ian, Jonna, Courtney, Rita, and the rest of the crowd have buggered off to lovely Norfolk, Virginia. And they're there for Marcon. So King Harvest Coffee, as always, is our sponsor. Let them know you heard about it here. And help Jonna keep the bills paid. Ko-Fi.com, the blanket fort. Anything helps. Although the temperature is a little warmer today than...
It's not going to stay that way. It's supposed to get cold tonight.
Yeah, I know. And note to self, do not try to take Christmas lights down when the wind is blowing 30 miles a friggin' hour.
No. I plan to put up a little cover over the camellia my son bought me because it's got lovely pink flowers, and if it freezes, it won't anymore.
No, it won't. Hello, all. Welcome. Appreciate y'all listening in today, watching, whatever the hell you're doing. Anyway, to continue the rant from Tuesday that I didn't get in, we have 330 some odd ships in the U.S. Navy. The Navy's aim, quote unquote, is to ensure at least 75 are combat credible or mission capable on any given day. Think about that, folks. Roughly 1/4 of the Navy's assets actually available to be mission capable on a given day.
That's a sad number.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I have faith that if we were hard pressed, American ingenuity, we could probably pull more out than that, but
not really.
No.
We'd be putting ships to sea that were not mission capable.
Yeah.
David, it compares historically to 1938.
Yeah, so before the war.
Before World War II. No, Evan, that's supposedly the active duty fleet. 36, 38. The ones I found said 38. Yeah, we're boned. That's pretty much true.
Yeah.
Yeah, Richard, that's everything. Yeah.
And they're not even trying to keep it a secret. So,
no.
I mean.
Well, and they came out today. CNO said today, hey, we're running out of weapons because you're giving everything to Ukraine. And the defense production people are not keeping up.
Well, I mean, we threw how much away in Afghanistan, and now we're doing this with the Ukraine, and I don't understand. I just, and I'm not sure there is a way to understand. It's just,
well, what you're seeing is, in reality, the shift to CRT, DEI, whatever the hell you want to call it,
right,
is more important than putting weapons on foreheads.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
They would rather that than enforce the production clauses, which penalize companies that don't deliver weapons on time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's been a bunch of quality issues too. I mean,
yeah, and the defense manufacturers are blaming that on COVID.
Oh no, I think this was going on a lot before COVID too.
Well, now they're blaming it on COVID today.
Well, yeah, because that's the convenient boogeyman now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Yeah, misgender officers, right?
Winkleridge, when I was in the Civil Air Patrol, there was a conversation where they were planning on moving away from doing sir and ma'am to just sir. And that would have gotten away around the whole misgendering, is if you're only using sir, it doesn't matter. So what it is now, and it's for a brief point there, as a Civil Air Patrol cadet officer, I was addressed as sir, which was kind of amusing. And I mean, That
Okay.
should be the option if we're going to worry about gender, is just go to sir.
Well, except that the misgendering
It's
crowd will scream about using sir.
exactly because it's not about
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
sir or ma'am or gender. It's about the power play.
Yeah. Well, it's just like this fuck up with the FAA the other day when NOTAMs went down.
Mm.
And Buttigieg has no idea what the hell went wrong. Didn't even know what NOTAMs were, but he was very precise in saying that it was notice to air missions, no longer notice to air men.
The other one,
They changed the friggin' name.
did you see the university, and it slips my mind, but I'm sure the chat will know, the university letter that got issued saying that we will no longer use the word field because it's racist?
Oh, yeah. Practicum.
Yes. So now we will have corn practicums and baseball practicums.
Yeah. And the new governor of Arkansas, Huckabee, is going the opposite way because she outlawed the word Latinx in any Arkansas official documentation.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her, because especially because the target of what is supposed to be called Latinx almost universally rejects it with prejudice.
Yeah. Yep.
David, the word field is racist because the slaves worked in fields.
Yeah.
And they were field hands.
Rick, I'm not sure when it got renamed, but there was the official name and the real name, which was Notice to Airmen.
That's all right. I read that as it seemed like the NOTAM system got reamed a while ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Latinx. Yeah, I've actually picked cotton too, and it's not fun. Thank God I didn't have to pick a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
A penny a bag does not make a lot of money.
No, it doesn't. And I mean, I haven't necessarily done that, but I know that my family has done itinerant migrant farm work.
Yeah.
Picking strawberries in Oregon and Washington.
Yeah.
And I had a moment, was walking down a hall in university and was listening to a professor in the classroom. I was waiting for her class to be done before I went in for my class. And she was going on about how the strawberry fields were not being harvested because no white people did that. And I almost, this is the same professor that wore the full headscarfy thing. I can't remember the name of the precise one she wore, but she would not have gone, that would not have gone well. So I opted not.
Yeah. Yeah. Repairman, repair person are being defined as gender neutral. Yeah, supposedly. Depends on who's deciding what's neutral and what's not. In other news, apparently now there's a third tranche of classified documents that Biden has, but they haven't said where the documents were. And hello all, welcome. Even if you're late, we won't hold it against you. You only missed one rant. But the question is, there are a lot of questions.
It's so many questions.
Yeah. First of all, you're only supposed to review classified documents in a secure space, i.e. a SCIF, especially if it's SCI. Secure compartmented information facility. It's 2. Obama did not have, I'm pretty sure, did not give authority to Biden to declassify anything. Hence, Biden is in violation of federal law.
Multiple times now.
Multiple times. The other question is, late last year. Thanks, Winkle Red. Hey, Becky. The other question is, the documents they found in Penn Center.
Mm-hmm.
Penn Center didn't open until 2018. So where the hell were those documents for almost a year after they left?
In a box somewhere.
Somewhere. And the other good one is his excuse about the box found in his house, in his garage, was, oh, well, my Corvette's locked up, so they were locked up too. Huh? Really?
We're more worried about the Corvette than we are
Yeah, the
national
classified.
secrets.
The Chinese consulate, probably. Uh, that does bring up an interesting point, too, Evan. Who had access to those spaces?
Yeah.
We know the Chinese put millions of dollars into it. Yeah. Secret Service disabled his alarm system because it was so wonky. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's no point in taking them all the way to the consulate if you can just walk into his house, photograph everything you want, upload it to the cloud, which is in China anyway, and
Evan, the Chinese, from what I've seen, funded something around $20 million to Penn. And I don't know how much of that went to the Penn Center and how much didn't for research purposes. Yeah, they built a fence around his house.
we can't build a fence along the border, but we can build a fence around Biden's house.
Yeah. Because fences don't work.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
No, he's definitely not mostly harmless. Yeah. The other thing that I find rather interesting is they're not saying anything about what the documents are. And of course, the next question is these were found November the 4th, 3rd or 4th, notified the just DOJ that day. Why, 2 months later, is the American public finally finding out? And in those 2 months, why did they not go look all the other places that you might find classified documents? Anybody? Bueller?
differs.
Yeah.
You said differ says in YouTube slaps warning on this episode in 3, 2. You know, I think that's actually a badge of success, and we hope that they do that to us
Yeah.
because then people will be interested, be like, "Oh, what are they saying?"
Well, we got kicked off Facebook because of that. So
yeah, absolutely. And with everything I've been seeing coming out of Twitter, with what they're finding out there, I think that yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that what Elon's doing there will be a drench of cold water on some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, not that they're going to stop, mind you, just push it further underground.
Yeah, David, you raise an interesting point. This could be Article 25.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely what they're doing. Look at the timing.
Yeah, because they want to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm. They've got to figure out what to do about Kamala.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously they can't make her president.
Never say never. God, as much as that scares the crap out of me. The other thing, she's going to get Diana soon.
Well, and that is the thing. And I mean, we've seen a lot of fiction postulate stuff like that over the years of basically creating martyrs. And that might be what their intention is with her, is to use her as a convenient, I don't even know how to phrase that, but the death of her, that they can hang a flag on it and use that as a weapon.
That's a possibility. Yeah. Yeah, that's the reason he picked her. Sacrifice.
I feel like they've picked some really bad, awful candidates. Biden, Kamala, going back before them to Hillary. These are just odious, slimy people that even people that I know that vote Democrat and liberal had to hold their noses to vote for them.
But it was their turn.
Well, it wasn't. It's not even that it's their turn. It's
and
just,
Biden was the vice because nobody wanted him as president.
Right.
So that actually protected Obama.
Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying that looking at this, if the Democrats had a half a brain cell in choosing candidates, they would actually, I think, not have to struggle as much to win. Because if they could find people that looked like they were decent human beings.
Yeah. Well, MC, you say that, but it is the Democrats, and they have a list, Brian. So it'll be Colonel Mustard in the library with an EVR. Yeah. Yeah, Agnew was another one. That was Maryland.
David, I didn't say a decent human being. I said looked like a decent human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the GOP does it too. I'm very aware of that because I've had to hold my nose to vote for things because I didn't have any other option. That's the other thing that makes me mad. I wish I had an option.
Yeah, Rick, that's a good point. They are beholden to the paymasters.
Yes.
That was what
they're controllable.
Had everybody spun up on both sides about Trump. Because he wasn't beholden to anybody.
Yes.
He could say exactly what he wanted, and he did.
Yes. Which was so amusing.
Yeah.
I got so much entertainment out of the Trump.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, what was entertaining was flipping over to The View and watching Behar trying to justify what Biden has done, saying, oh, well, this is nowhere near as bad as what Trump did.
I really avoid watching that because, I mean.
Sometimes, yeah, I mean, it's I
can see the amusement factor, yes.
It's like some of the people that I have on my blog roll are hard lefties. But it's always nice to know what the other side's doing.
Well, and Sanford and I were talking about this today. He was talking about social media, and I was talking about the fact that we haven't had social media for all that long, but there has always been that outlet for that kind of communication. It used to be newspapers with opinion pieces and letters to the editor. And I'm reading a really good book right now that Alma recommended on the American Revolution. And it points out that newspapers and subscription lists and consumer boycotts were all tools that were being used to form a national identity before the War for Independence. But the problem with social media is it's so easy to get yourself into an echo chamber. So you want to try and make sure that you do have viewpoints outside of your own. In my case, I have a lot of artists friends.
Yeah. So they're definitely going to be left by and large.
By and large, yes. And some of them are not only left, but like, oh my God, how do you remember to breathe? Because anything it's like, I love you, honey, you make great art, but there are times.
No comment.
So artists and why artists trend left is partly because artists are told that they have to be left. And because leftism appeals to the emotion a lot, and artists, and I'm one of these, we artists tend to be on that. There's the whole stereotype of being flaky, being very emotional. And so I think that it's very easy to go with the emotional swaying without balancing that with the logic of,
as Ag says, the loony left. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's not just left, but it is very much the loony left. And so it's really interesting sometimes when I can bear it to look at it and kind of analyze, okay, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
I'm seeing it right now with the whole thing with AI art and the whole, oh my God, it's stealing everything from, yes, no, not really.
And the pushback, one I saw the other day, an artist got told, well, that's obviously AI art. You couldn't have created that.
Yes. And that's going to be the problem now is that if someone is a really good artist, they're going to be forced to show their raw files, which normally you don't show to anybody because stealing an image is one thing, but stealing all of the components is a whole other thing. And we also see there's a lot of claims that you can't be an artist and be a conservative, or that conservatives don't create, that they aren't creative, which is not true. But those
have you seen any of the meme wars?
No, exactly. The thing is that because the art world has been so left for
Yeah.
so long that it's dangerous to let yourself be known as conservative and an artist.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult. I mean, even I got involved in a writing group that came out of the Bain slush and learned to never ever say anything about the fact that I was a Christian and very conservative because the women in that writing group were not, and their private conversations were
Yeah.
very derogatory of, I mean, motherhood and
Yeah.
stuff like that that I espouse. I mean, it's yeah, without getting into even some of the more controversial stuff that I've
Oh,
run
yeah.
across. But
Yeah. The other good one along the same lines. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Academia. That's another. Uh, and this one kind of falls into academia. Loudoun County. First, it was Thomas Jefferson not giving out the National Merit Scholarships.
yes.
Now there are two more high schools in Loudoun County didn't give them out either.
Mm-hmm.
And at least one parent has pointedly said, "You cost my son a scholarship.
Yeah.
He has been denied."
Yeah, I'm imagining that there are already lawsuits and
Oh, yeah.
multiple lawsuits when that comes into play. On the other hand, um, last night my son had logged into his college account and got extremely excited because he has been given, we didn't ask for any of this.
Yeah.
He has been given another scholarship because he's out of district.
Yes.
So his college bill dropped even further. Texas takes care of its kids, and I am loving it.
They also take care of the military getting an education.
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
John, I didn't realize a couple more in Fairfax had gotten caught. This is getting better and better.
Yeah, it's I'm often tempted to get into the I told you so's because I was raised
Yeah.
I was raised homeschoolers, and I was raised with a very skeptical eye on public schools, and it's everything that my mom was afraid of. And love my mother, and mom, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but mom can be a bit out there on the conspiracy theorist side. So I'm
Mhm.
always very skeptical. But on the other hand, it's happening. It's
Yeah.
everything that we were worried about is coming to pass. Yeah, it's frightening. It scares me.
Yeah.
These poor kids.
Well, and we know the kids are not being taught.
Mm.
Oh, that's a fact. That's why the private schools are getting so many more students, and the public schools are losing students right and left. Here in Itchipah Falls, they lost 2,100, 2,200 students that have gone to private schools or
Yep.
gone to homeschooling
Mm-hmm.
in the last 2 years.
Yep.
So they actually had to pay the state back
Yep.
for federal money they got.
Well, and that's the big thing that schools have been fighting against homeschoolers for so long against, is because that every student that's not enrolled in the public school loses the money.
Yeah.
In even places where it's been legal to homeschool, and because I'm old school, mom homeschooled us sometimes in places and times that it was illegal to be homeschooled. But even places where it was legal for us to be homeschooled, like when we were in Alaska, the school superintendent there waged war against all the homeschoolers because it meant money that wasn't coming to him.
Yeah.
And this is going to get, we're going to see opposition to homeschooling ramp up even more and get even uglier.
Well, yeah, in California now, because my youngest daughter had an option to homeschool her too.
Mm-hmm.
And when she started discussing it with the school, they came back and said, "Oh, well, you can only homeschool if we approve the curriculum,"
Yeah. Yeah.
which is bullshit.
It is. It is absolutely bullshit because you can do better curriculums than the public school curriculum.
Yeah.
You can do better curriculums from the public school curriculum without ever using a curriculum. Just
But she was
books.
told if she chose to homeschool and chose to not follow the approved curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
the children would be marked truant.
Yep.
And she would be arrested.
Yep. Yep.
So she pulled them out of the school they were in, put them in a different school.
Yep.
Because the school that they were in, the grandson's teacher during COVID had to go home to Mexico to see the family 7 times.
Mm-hmm. What public schools are not safe.
No.
They're not teaching. What they are teaching is contrary to the majority of Americans' values.
Yeah.
So we're getting to a point where private schools are an option for some people, but frankly, they're usually so expensive, it's not an option.
Yeah.
And homeschooling can be done very, very inexpensively, but homeschooling isn't right for every parent. I mean, I am an ardent advocate of homeschooling because I was homeschooled, and I've had the privilege of homeschooling 2 of mine for part of their school, not all of it. But I know that there are parents that just couldn't cope with it, don't know where to start with it. And if you don't start when the child is very, very young, it gets progressively more and more difficult the later it is when you pull them out of school.
That's a good question, Rick. And the answer right now still is the teachers' unions.
Yes.
But the teachers' unions have made fools of themselves the last couple of years. And especially Randy Weingarten, who's now trying to backtrack on a lot of the stuff she said and getting slapped down on a regular basis. It used to be that the parents and the teachers had a mutual agreement of what the kids were going to be taught. Now, not so much. Everything is being driven by the teachers association, teachers unions, and the parents have little or no say in it.
Right. And if they try to have a say in it, we're seeing them get
arrested. Yeah.
Right. And treated as if they're terrorists, which is a whole other, the whole proliferation of what we're going to call terrorism. Another whole other dangerous thing. But yeah, schools have been a mess for as long as I've been aware of it. So decades now. And I've had family members that got really indignant with me talking about homeschooling versus public schooling because they had relatives that had been public school teachers. But at this point, any kid that wants to become a teacher, I'm like, look at private schools. Don't look at teaching in public schools.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, and Rick brings up a good point. 2 incomes. So there's nobody home to teach the kids.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, you can't. Now, the funny thing is COVID is actually helping that and changing that. And like I've been able to homeschool during and through COVID because I had a parent home because Sanford retired precipitously at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
Wasn't a plan. We were able to cope with it.
See you later, Ag.
And then now I'm working from home. So, I mean, the kid's obviously doing college, but I'm still there. And a lot of parents are working from home.
Yeah.
So, and that's also, we're starting to see pushback against the whole working from home thing.
Yeah.
The company that I work, so I'm a contractor and I work for a very large, very global organization that I'm not going to name because it's a pain in the butt. But they are trying to pull all their remote workers back in for a minimum of 2 to 3 days a week into offices for no good reason.
Well, they want people in front of their desk.
Right.
Richard, that's an excellent point. Make public statements in world smartphones and then try to say they never said it when there is video of them saying it. Yes. That happens on a routine basis.
Yeah. And I'm willing to be okay with somebody that was like, yeah, I said that, but I've changed my mind. But when they say, oh, no, I never said that. Mm-hmm.
Well, Becky, part of the problem is, yeah, it's if I can't see you, you're not working.
Right.
But there's also the side of the coin of people that would log in the morning and literally have a doodler that would move the mouse for 3 or 4 hours at a time just to keep the session live while they went off and did what they wanted to.
Yep. I mean, what my job is remote right now is can be done in less time than I am given to do it in most of the time. But I think that that's true because everybody works at different paces.
Yeah.
So, and there have definitely been days where I was sitting there with nothing to do because I was out of stuff to do.
Yeah.
But I had the same thing when I was working in the lab. There were days that I had nothing to do and I had to sit there at the desk and twiddle my thumbs.
Yeah.
Which drove me about insane.
Yeah, Rick, that's another part of it. The amount of screwing off that people do at work. Yeah, there's a Dilbert question. Do I owe you the 8 hours or just 4 when I'm productive? Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, when I was in the lab and the days that I didn't have anything to do, I was on call for when samples show up, I'm there to get on them right away.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I see some of even what I do now remotely, where there's days that I'm waiting for something to come in and they're paying me basically to be there. Yeah, exactly. But C. Byers just said some jobs just want people on call to be there if something is wrong.
Yeah, Cameron's that's another good point.
Yep. So. Yeah, and the other thing too is that I think that businesses are being short-sighted because there are ways to make sure that your people are being productive. I mean, if you have metrics of, well, we expect you to write X number of reports a week, and you're not, then obviously there's a problem. But right, and Mark, and that's the other thing too, is some jobs have to be. When I was working in labs, I was headhunted this week for a position. And it is a position where I would want it to be hybrid because there's certain things that would have to be done in person.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to tell people that they're doing something wrong and you have to do it right if you're not looking them in their eyeballs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of jobs that there's no remote option for.
Well, David, according to the NRA now, there is a remote option, but not going there. Yeah, Carlton, there are people that claim they're working for 2 or 3 companies simultaneously. And maybe they are, and maybe they'll get away with it for a while. But sooner or later, that's going to bite them in the butt.
I mean, I work 2 jobs right now. I freelance and I have the day job.
Yeah.
And it is what it is because I need the writing income to eventually build up to being suitable for my retirement income.
Yeah, probability metrics.
Differs. Not while you're homeschooling, but once they go off to college, yes. For those of you that don't know, Differs is a stay-at-home homeschooling mom. Her job is 24/7. I'm sorry, honey. Yeah. I've been there. I've done that.
Yeah, but the day job does have the priority during those working hours.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
and I've known people that work 2 jobs, real jobs.
Yeah.
That were show up in person, and they literally were out of the house at 6 o'clock in the morning and didn't get back home until midnight.
Yep.
But they had to do that to make ends meet.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, somebody said something about violating a contract. And yeah, if you're in a contract where you can't moonlight,
Yeah.
or you're violating a non-compete, that's a different matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, side hustles are a thing, and a lot of people have to do that.
Yeah.
So.
And then there are poor fools like us who worked for the government and couldn't have a side hustle because you never knew when you were going to be gone.
Well, the writing is the ultimate flexible side hustle,
Yeah.
because you could do that during your downtime.
I was doing that on airplanes and in hotel rooms.
Yep.
But I averaged, for the last 13 years I worked for the government, I averaged about 200 days a year on the road worldwide. And some of it was short notice.
Yeah.
I literally had one trip. I went to Australia with 2 days notice. Like, oh, there's a meeting. We forgot to tell you. Damn.
Yeah.
Would have been nice. You know, here's your ticket. Make your own hotel reservations. We know where you like to stay, but you got to figure that shit out yourself. You know, plus put a brief together. Commas at the end so they can put them where they wanted them. And then I get down there and I give the brief. And as I'm on the next to the last slide, I see my boss, the 2-star, walk in the back of the room. And after I finish, we go on break. He goes, well, I don't know why the hell I'm down here because I was supposed to give that brief. I went, sir, I didn't know that. Well, obviously the right hand and the left hand were not talking. You think?
Greg, very little teleworking available for those whose jobs involved working with classified information. You would think that, but evidently.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe teleworking from prison, but
right.
Unless your surname is Biden, Clinton, or Obama. Yeah. You do have a point there.
Yeah. Evan asks, what do we think about Chat GP and writing? I think there are places where we're going to see the chat AIs, the writing AIs, take over. A lot of website content writing. I've done that in the past, and it's not very well paid. And I stopped doing it because it got even less well paid once it was opened up to be able to be done by people overseas.
Yeah.
I actually talked to a balloon twister who wanted some web content, and what he was willing to pay per word, I think it was 0.008 cents or something like that. And he was farming that out and having it done out of Malaysia, I believe it was where his content writers were. And the blog posts he was getting were not good. And if you read them as a professional balloon twister, you were like, what? But they were there to make the website look active. So when people that wanted birthday parties, they would find him, he'd pop up higher in the search algorithms.
Yeah.
So he never really intended for anyone to read these articles. They were there to manipulate the search algorithms. And a lot of website content is like that. So it really doesn't matter if it's being written by a human, and they're not intended to be read by things. I mean, and as a reader, if I'm going to read a piece of fiction and enjoy it,
and
it's written by an AI, okay, I don't actually think that's going to be possible.
Yeah, and as Becky says, if you hand out the usual assignments, you're going to get back Chat GP.
Yeah. And
by bots for bots. Yeah.
Right. And arguably, is that even plagiarism at that point?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to hand out some kind of rote assignment, and not really look at what the student is giving back, why even bother?
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're asking the students to really think, and Becky tutored my son for full thing, so I know what she asks of the kids and how she engages them. So I know a little bit about what she does. But I've seen professors have had professors that I could basically write their papers in my sleep.
Yeah.
And practically did one days when it was really bad.
Yeah. Greg brings up an interesting point, though, talking about skiffs. The there were a lot of people that obviously were not working,
Mm-hmm.
so they weren't going into the skiffs,
Right.
but you still got documents.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine was and still is an FSO, facility security officer in DC, and she was working 5 days a week, just trying to keep up with all the BS that was coming in and going out.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't doubt it at all.
Because the other thing is, you have security passwords that have to be updated on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not, you're locked out of the system.
Yep.
And if you're not in the facility, you can't update your passwords.
Yep.
So,
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, I will say that there for a while, right at the beginning of lockdown, my commute was fabulous.
yeah. 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 Well, Rick, I'm not going to say. Let's just say there are ways. Yeah. Yeah, Richard, that's another good point. The old military training manuals, 50s, 60s, hell, going back to World War II, were clean and precise and gave you a lot of theory. Starting in the 60s, became cartoons.
Yeah.
I was an instructor in the late 70s, early 80s, and we were teaching platform instruction at the 11th grade level,
Mm-hmm.
because our systems were pretty significantly intense and required a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to the program text, they brought in an ed spec who was a PhD in English with pipe, tweed jacket with leather patches, who said, "Oh, you have to write these at the 9th grade level." Then we're going, "What? No, we have to have this. No, you have to write it at the 9th grade level.
Mm-hmm.
That is the new accepted standard."
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Oh, and the other thing was, you cannot use anything that you do not have documentation for.
Yep.
So all of our practical experience that we had real world that we would use on the podium became illegal. So we watched the quality of the students go thud, and they went from being analysts to being lion chasers.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's been a literacy push for some time. There was a book, I don't remember when it came out, called Why Johnny Can't Read.
Yeah.
And that's probably around the time that those manuals went from in-depth writing to the cartoons.
Yeah.
Because that book's been out for quite a while. But even more recently, when I was doing the family entertainment stuff, we did a lot of literacy shows, and it was promoting reading and books because kids these days would rather not.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, this is the reason that Harry Potter was such a great thing, for all that Harry Potter itself, from a literary point of view, has issues. I mean, it's very derivative. But that doesn't matter to kids that haven't been reading at all. For them, it's fresh and new and fun, and actually got them reading books. And then they went on of, oh, these are good, so maybe there's other things out there that are good. So Harry Potter, in a lot of ways, has some really good responses from kids to get them to read more. And that's, I think, what a lot of the literacy stuff misses, which is that if reading is not fun, they won't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with my son this last year, I got my Audible stats because the kid was listening to audiobooks. And he had been a good reader and enjoyed reading, and then hit late middle school, early high school, and all of a sudden his reading tanked.
Yeah.
And then with COVID and the stuff, and he wasn't even reading at home until he started listening to audiobooks. And he has been exploring Heinlein, and he listened to the Chronicles of Narnia and just all these other things that he's um, been reading, but by listening to them.
But listening is not reading.
No, it's not.
Two very different ways
But
of processing.
what it had led to is when I went down to see my kids down in Corpus Christi, one of the places they wanted to go was Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah.
And I bought my kid books, and he's been reading them because the audiobooks are expensive and he can't afford his audio habit. So he's gone to the cheaper version of let's read in paper.
Yeah.
So what it did was it triggered him his love of reading again because he was enjoying it.
Yeah. I'm playing catch up here.
Oh no, I'm sure.
Yes, Jesse, you need two parts on the authentication always. Cameron, that's interesting. Asked for a geospatial Python code and got back something intelligible. Nah, I can say that word. But functioned quite well and was somewhat clever.
Yeah, somebody else told me that too, that their kid was working on a project and used the chat AI to generate Python code and then had to bodge it around to what they needed, but it gave them a platform to work with.
But the question is, what's going to happen the first time somebody doesn't do that and just runs the code?
Which could be very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Think.
Becky, I think you and I might be talking about the same kid there.
Yeah.
Yes, Peter Dudalt's kid.
Yeah.
He's got smart kids. He's a smart man, so
yeah,
it follows.
Yeah, reading is the mental gym. And reading allows you to retain data, whereas listening to it does not.
No, I no argument. I find listening to a book difficult because I read so very quickly. But the fact that it leapfrogged my kid back into reading in paper was for me, that's like, ooh, yes, let's do this. So
I gave my two grandkids who are 5 and 7 copies of DJ Butler's children's book for Christmas.
Yeah.
And, they're actually written for a little bit older than 5 and 7. But both those kids have dove into those books and they're enjoying them.
I object to reading levels and reading age groups.
Because started.
Most kids, I mean, sure, some kids might read at that level. Some kids read at a lower level. Other kids read at an upper level. But if you say you have to be on this, the kids that aren't there yet feel bad. And the kids that are way beyond it are bored and start to hate reading.
Well, it's always the 50th percentile. That's where you have to aim your teaching.
Right.
And you're going to lose the ones on the low end and you're going to lose the ones on the high end.
Yep.
And there's not a damn thing you can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah. When I wrote Vulcan's Kittens, one of my first readers told me that I needed to look up what the reading level for that age range was supposed to be and then tweak the book to that. And I was like, no, I will not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, if you read as a child, and I think most of us did, including most of the people in the chat, we read far beyond our age.
My mom is aware that I was reading at 4.5. She's not actually sure when I started reading.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was very definitely always reading above. I mean, when I was in 4th grade, I was tested at above college level, into college level, reading level.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I read some pretty weird stuff because I'd read whatever I could get my hands on, and sometimes it wasn't suitable. Somebody mentioned a Gore book up there. Yes. Yeah. I found one of those when I was way too young, and most of it went right over my head. The World Book Encyclopedia reminds me.
I still have a set.
Yeah, I actually was tempted to buy one just recently, just for sheer nostalgia.
Yeah.
I found part of the companion library books, which are these books that there's two books
Yeah.
and you flip it around. One's upside down if you
Yeah.
read through. Um, my mom had those when she was a girl, and she told me the story after I blogged about having bought these for nostalgia because I grew up with them. My mom read very early and a lot, and her mom had bought this set of books, the companion library, and they were supposed to come one a month,
Mm-hmm.
which her mom was like, great, this will slow her down a little. So for the first 2 months, it showed up one book at a time. And then on month 3, it showed up with a big box with all of them in it. And my mom read them all in like a week. And grandma was like, darn it, it was supposed to last longer.
Yeah, the World Book or the Encyclopedia Britannica is the OG Google.
Oh, yeah.
And, we used, a lot of us used those, at least in my
Mhm.
generation, for reference.
No, yeah. I have a 1949 Encyclopedia Britannica on the shelf.
Yeah. Because they also came out with yearbooks for each year, and I have those up through, I think, 72 or 73.
Yeah. Well, I bought the 1949s just recently as fact checkers.
Yeah. And, the thing is, and somebody made the comment, and I'm not going to go back and find it. Jesse, you can't retroactively edit treeware. That's
Exactly.
exactly right.
Yep. That's why I also have a couple of very old dictionaries.
Yes. Merriam-Webster. I've got one that's about that friggin' thick.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've seen at the end of the dining
Yeah.
room, I have the dictionary table with the
Yeah.
dictionary that opens up on its own little
Yeah.
thing. And every now and then I turn the page to a new dictionary page.
Yeah.
But I used to read the dictionary.
Yeah. I think I read most of the encyclopedia when I was in
Yep, I definitely did
middle
that.
school and high school.
Yeah, the World Book ones. I
Yeah.
read most of those. So.
And National Geographic. I will never forget, I had an aunt and uncle down in Louisiana that had been born turn of the 19th century. So they read. And I was, I guess, 7, 8 years old. And we were down there, and I found a closet that was full of Reader's Digest, National Geographics, and I want to say either Look Magazine or Time or Life. One of the three or all three.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, literally, this closet was floor to ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, can I? Just put them back where you found them. That works good till the whole damn stack falls over.
Ouch. That's heavy, too.
Well, A, it was heavy. And B, have you ever tried to put 30 years worth of books back in order? Jeez.
I have
what was a month on this?
I have a small collection of National Geographics, but at one point I had boxes and boxes and boxes of Nat Geos from the 1920s through to the 1980s. And when I went off to college as an 18-year-old, my mom got rid of all of those. So I still I've got some that I picked up at a yard sale, like pennies, but they're all from the 1940s.
Yeah.
So
David, I've got
history.
That Time Life World War II collection at the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're heavy. That's why they're on wire racks. Yeah, the black and white National Geographics with the contents on the cover.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's when I've got some of the old ones, because they're history. I mean, you go back and you look into them, and they're a glimpse into what people were thinking at the time.
Yeah.
And it's great for research.
It's great for research, and it shows a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And, it doesn't, it's not politically correct in a lot of cases.
Oh, yeah, no.
But once again, what we think is politically correct today and what they did 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago are going to be different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, David, the ads in old magazines are so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh, the old ads are just great.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I used one of those yesterday on my Twitter feed. It was a $9.99 Trash 80 upgrade from Radio Shack. I said maybe the FAA needs to upgrade the server, and a picture of that thing.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm following you on Twitter. I should rectify that.
Yeah. Gutenberg Web Archive. Yes, that's another one.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. That's so much fun.
Rick, when you do, make damn sure that you have a thick enough either floor setup or you
reinforced floors.
reinforce the slab. Yeah, 1950s cold head. I've actually seen that one, David.
Give mother what she really wants for Christmas. Why, yes, please.
Yeah, Colt pistols. Yes.
We see now people mock the old ads for give your wife or your mother a vacuum cleaner or a washing machine.
Yeah.
And frankly, I have kept house without electricity, and gosh darn it, if I haven't gotten really happy when I had a good washing machine and didn't have to do it by hand.
Oh yeah. My grandmother actually, Raptor, that's kind of what I bought myself for Christmas, was a new Anaconda.
That thing is heavy.
Yeah.
I need a little one.
But yeah, the thing is, she for years used an old Mangler washing machine, and it sat out on the back porch.
Yep. Sanford almost lost an arm to one of those when he was a baby.
Yeah.
So he was trying to help Mama, and about 2 years old, got his arm up in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, there will be a range report, Raptor. I've just got to get the proper ammo for it. But the thing is, for Grandma, that was one of her best anniversary presents, was when she got a real washer and a dryer. And this was in the 1970s.
Well, that was a big investment.
Yeah.
And that showed that he was thinking about her, wanted to make her life easier. That's a real lovely gift of just affection and caring there. I mean, the guys that didn't care about their wives gave them jewelry so they could show them off when out in public, and worked them like slavies when they were home.
Yeah.
So for me, this is the way.
Yeah, Richard, that's an excellent point. People don't realize the time before vacuum cleaners and automatic washers and dryers.
Richard, that actually sounds good, but sadly, you're probably right.
And the infrastructure to support those appliances. That's another good point.
Oh yeah, no, if I thought I could get it, what would be on my list would be a baby Hobart. So yes, I absolutely would want a mixer for Christmas or Valentine's.
You don't have enough space for a Hobart.
No, a baby Hobart, the little ones that get up then sit on the counter. So you're only talking about 8 to 10 quarts.
Oh, okay.
So no, I don't want one of the floor mounts, because honestly, we don't have enough people to eat that much bread at a go.
That's true.
So I'm making Russian black bread for Saturday.
Oh, okay.
But I'll probably only do 2 loaves, which I can manage in my KitchenAid.
Electrolux, they really suck. Yes.
Yes.
Only if you have electrical power, however.
Right. And that's the other thing too, is that most people have not lived without electricity.
Yeah.
And it is really time consuming.
Yeah.
Really, really time consuming.
So. Yeah. Baby Hobart's basically a heavy duty KitchenAid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot better quality than a KitchenAid these days.
They started the same, they forked off from the same company. My KitchenAid, my stand mixer is a vintage one.
Yeah.
And I baby that thing because it's already got the speed adjuster is busted.
Yeah.
But that thing, I don't want it to ever break, because I don't want to have to replace it with a modern one, because modern ones aren't as good.
Yeah. Yeah, Rick, he sold electrical appliances in the Dust Bowl to create demand for his real employer, which is Fairbanks Morris. Diesel engines. Yep. for the rural electric co-ops. I had a funny story about Hobart, so the larger version.
Yeah.
Friend of mine worked down in Dahlgren in energetics, as they now call them.
Okay.
And they actually mix compounds, explosives,
Oh, right.
in Hobart mixers.
They do cosmetics in them too.
Yeah. And then they dump them out, trundle them out, put them in a bunker and leave them for 30 days. If they don't go, foop, then they drag them out, take a little bit out, and go see how big a boom they can make with it.
8,000 for a countercrop 12-quart mixer. Yikes. I think they've gone up. You might look for a refurbished or used one at that rate.
Well, folks,
I would do.
We've wasted another hour of your time today. A little bit different.
Well, I mean, I'm different in what I'm going to rant on than Ian, for sure.
Yes, you are. You're quite different. The hair, yeah, not so much. Never mind.
It's still red.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
No fidgets. No. I have gotten to the point where I'm watching you guys with the chat and I don't have to fidget. If I'm off to the side and you all can't see me, I'll be drawing.
Yeah, she's drawing normally.
So my drawing tablet's over there. I just didn't use it.
So anyway, thank y'all. We appreciate it as always. And we appreciate the chat, even though we were playing catch up today to try to respond to comments. Have a good weekend. Be safe. And remember, don't sweat the petty stuff. Don't pet the sweaty stuff. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.